Welcome to Expand Your Fempire with Caterina Rando, the podcast for women in business on a mission, sharing ideas to support you to grow, lead, and thrive. Now, here's your host, Caterina Rando.
Welcome back to another episode of the Expand Your Fempire podcast. Today's episode, I'm so excited because you and I are going to have a conversation about not stuff to do, how you may be being that's interfering with client attraction, revenue generation, and your bliss in your business. Over the years, I have watched so many women, talked to hundreds, thousands, I'm sure, of women about their businesses. And I've gone to their seminars and I've been clients of them, and I have seen all kinds of things that work, and I've seen a lot of things that women often do not even realize is interfering with their new client attraction, their revenue, their bliss, and their impact in their businesses. Before we had our center in San Francisco, the Thriving Women in Business Center, there was a time when I would rent the library at the Italian Museum at Fort Mason on days that they were closed. This location is right on the water. It's got the most beautiful view. The room is lovely. And the location has about literally 300 places to park in San Francisco. Now, I'm sharing this with you because on the first day of a new program, I've got 15 ladies. They're in there. We're having a great time. We're doing introductions. This class is for women that want to grow their business with speaking. And as everyone is having a big smile on their face, this woman bursts into the room. She takes a loud, huge sigh. She begins to tell us why she's late. The traffic got lost. And to my surprise, she even mentions that she couldn't find a place to park. In this moment, I think to myself, I am so sorry for you. Not because of the difficulty she had that morning, because she was making a terrible first impression. And it wasn't even so much what she said. She was being so negative in her vocal inflections while she was doing it. My friend, negativity repels potential clients. And I see many times women show up for a meeting with a complaino, something that they start their communication with. Even though authenticity is an essential part of business, this idea that you got to share everything that is not ideal with everybody is not authenticity. It's dumping. It's taking your challenge or your bad mood or your whatever and spewing it to a room full of people, having some of it land on them, which informs their impression of you. I'm begging you, be conscious of your communication in all professional situations. You don't need to tell everybody that you just stubbed your toe, that you are not feeling well today. Do you know how many times I've had to give a speech or teach a class when I would rather be sitting on my couch? At least a few, if not many. You know what you do though? When you're a professional, you reach down and you get the vitality and you get the energy and you get whatever you need to meet the challenge du jour, which might be teaching a class or showing up for a networking. Because if you're going to be there, you better be there cento per cento. That's Italian for 100%. Don't do your business on 50%. And I just said do. Yes, don't do your business on 50%. Don't be your brand on 50%, because everything we say either solidifies or dilutes our brand. And what is our brand? A big part of our brand is people's impression of us. In fact, I say to my ladies, your brand is what people say about you behind your back and in front of your face. Well, if people are saying that you're negativo, that's not going to result in referrals or client attraction. Pay attention. In fact, I invite you to embrace an attitude of uplift in your business. And let me tell you something else. All those times when I was thinking to myself, oh gosh, I'd really like a day off. Do you know what I do? I do what I know how to do, which is run my class or my seminar with an attitude of uplift. The audience doesn't need to know if I didn't get enough sleep or whatever it is. Because once the action starts, I'm blissing, they're blissing, and at the end of the day, we're all blissing even more. Pay attention, my friend, to how you present not only what you're doing, how you're being in your business. That's number one. The antidote to that is an attitude of uplift all the time in your business. You may have grown up in a household with a mother who did it all. You may have grown up in a household where nobody ever asked for help. You may have had jobs where everything fell on you. Well, guess what, my friend? As an entrepreneur, that's not going to work. In the house I grew up in, my mom was a school teacher. From day one, I remember going to Royal Rose. That was the name of the ice cream shop on the corner by my house. Royal Rose, it was called. And Rose was a friend of my mom's. And after school, that's where I went. And I stayed with Royal Rose and my sister and her children. She fed us because my mom was at work. From early on, I got the message. Moms don't do everything all the time. And if you're a mom, hopefully you've embraced that attitude. And I'm not talking so much right now about getting help. I've said many times that yes, mommies get a helper. CEOs like you need a helper too. What I'm referring to more right now is this attitude of we have to do it ourselves. Specifically about the aloneness that you can experience when you have your own business. The part that I don't want is for you to spend too much time alone. Even during the pandemic, Zoom situations were how we did community. And I want to invite you to realize and receive and know the massive power that comes with community. Because when you don't know what to do and you don't feel like the queen of the universe and you are questioning everything, don't go to your regular girlfriends that you've known for 20, 30 years who are not entrepreneurs. Go to your entrepreneur girlfriends. Go to other women in business that you know, that you vibe with. That's what we do in the Thriving Women in Business community. It blisses me every time I see someone at another woman's workshop because they're supporting each other. Be a part of a community. Don't just do community. Be a part of a community. Be supportive of other women. Be uplifting to other women. You know what happens when you do that? You're uplifted too. Please don't spend too much time by yourself trying to figure it all out on your own. I want you to bliss. That is not bliss. You've probably heard me say, successful women make decisions quickly. And maybe you've put some attention on making decisions more quickly. What I want you to recognize is another side of that, which is the hesitancy to act. And you may not think about it as a decision. Because in my business, I have a lot of conversations with women about whether or not the solutions I offer are the right match for them. I see and I hear about their thought process. And it's often that they're not taking action because they're not sure that they will do what they say they want to do. And that speaks to a hesitancy to act, a hesitancy to schedule your workshop, a hesitancy, and this idea that we have to figure something out before we act, like all the work happens in your head. My friend, it does not happen in your head. It happens once you act. Notice where you're having hesitancy, because that is indecisiveness. And when decisions don't happen, you know what happens? Nothing. No revenue. No new clients. No clarity. Please notice where you're having hesitancy. And hesitancy is often not trusting yourself, not trusting your ability to make the right decision. And I want to tell you something. Even if you make the wrong decision, you know what you could do? You can ask yourself, how can I make the decision right? When I'm talking to ladies 3, 4, 5, 6 times about whether or not to join our Thrive at Sales class, which is only a 9-week course, and it's not a very substantial investment, and they can't make a decision for months, they still want to talk to me. They still want to think about it. I know if that's how they're being with this decision, that's how they're being everywhere in their business. And their hesitancy means that they're having no massive success. Sure, they might have some clients. Sure, they might be doing some things, but they're not growing. You cannot scale a business with no decisiveness. This, my friend, will make a huge difference for you. Pay attention to eliminating hesitancy in your behavior. Bing, bing, bing. When we started, I said that these musings were really about how to be, not what to do. This next one, though, is a little bit of both. One of the things I've said to my clients, especially during the pandemic lifestyle, is to every month have one thing or two things virtual that you can invite people to. And when I say a virtual thing, what I mean is a 1-hour something, a Q&A session, a workshop, introduction to your work that you always can invite people to. And because it's 1 hour, it's an easy yes for people. Super tip alert, super tip alert. The more time you ask from people, the less likely they are to say yes. If you ask them to show up to your 3-hour thing, that's a big ask if they never met you before. If you invite anybody to an hour thing, particularly if it's a Zoom thing and they don't have to leave their home or office, then bing, 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 you're going to have more smiles in the squares on the screen. This is what I've been telling my clients. And the ones that are doing it consistently, by the way, they are massively monetizing, gaining clients, and blissing in their business. Here's the thing though. When you do your thing, it's not just about the doing. It's not just about the thing. It's about the fact that it's yours. I went to one client's thing, a lovely, beautiful woman. This is quite a while ago at the beginning of Pandemic Lifestyle. And I went to her thing, but you wouldn't know it was her thing. She had this guest speaker and she had this other guest speaker, and there was very little of her at her thing. Let's be very clear. I want you to own, and this is the being part, I want you to own your massive value. I want you to own your power as a leader. And I want to invite you to take the space as a leader. Now, this fabulous, phenomenal woman, we had a debrief after. I said, the next time I come to your thing, I want more of you. Because the point is that we want to build influence with our thing. And how do we do that? By people having an experience of us, by us providing value, by us making sure they feel seen and heard and welcomed and valued and included and cared for at the thing. By the way, that was several super tips I just gave you. And I do encourage you to get everyone's voice in the room when you can, when the group is small enough before you start. But again, a super tip on top of the super tip, you have to coach your participants so they keep it super brief. Because I have also been to things where the introductions took 20, 30 minutes and there's only 6 ladies in the virtual room. That doesn't work either. The point I want you to get, though, is that make sure you are very present in your thing, bringing your massive value. Now, you have to balance that, though. Here's another musing about being that I'm inviting you to take a look at in your business. I went to another person's thing, not a client, and it was called a connect. When someone goes to something called a connect of some kind, they think that there's going to be an opportunity to connect with other people. Now, not only did this person not take the time to have everyone introduce themselves, missing the very important way to allow people to get present and feel seen in a room with you. The talk, everything that was shared, was very centered on her. I don't want that to be you. I'm recommending that you be audience-centric. Now, what does that mean? Audience-centric. If you've ever been to a speech with me where this kind of thing occurs, where everyone gets to introduce themselves, I do these talks 1 time a week, 2 times, sometimes 3 times a week, where I'm the guest speaker at a luncheon or a morning event or an evening conference or something where everyone gets to introduce themselves. And what I love to do is I love to pay attention to everyone's name and everyone's business. And then throughout my talk, I talk about the women in the room. I say, Sheila, for your business. I say, Mary, I'm sure when you are talking to your clients, and I infuse their businesses and what they've shared already in the meeting, like you were saying about when you did your fundraiser last week, whatever it is, I like to take all of that and infuse it into my thing, my talk. And I'm sharing this with you because often I see that women in business are talking all about them. And I'm inviting you to look at how you can be more client-centric and more audience-centric as a speaker. You may or may not know that for many years, I published books for women in business. We published many books for women in business, multi-author books, 20 women in a book. Everybody writes a chapter. I remember in the first book we published, way back when, it was called Image Power. There were 20 image consultants in the book. Phenomenal ladies. Great book. Loved that book. Loved that book. One of the chapters, though, was so much about this woman's life and her story. Of course, it's always important to include your own stories in your writings and in your speaking. The thing is, though, that you have to relate it back to the audience. You have to say things like, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever had this experience? What do you think you would do in this situation? As a speaker, as a writer, you have to relate what you're saying back to the reader and include them in the conversation. I said to this author many years ago, I said, please, let's redo this, connecting more with the reader throughout this chapter. And I want you to remember this as a speaker, as a writer. Yes, we share our massive value. Yes, we give our super tips, our perspective, our insights, our guidelines. Don't forget, though, that we're there to be of service, and we want to keep bringing it back to the reader or the listener. And as you move forward in your speaking and your writing, I encourage you to be more audience-centric, more listener and reader-centric. And I'm asking you, if you continue in your content development with that perspective, I'm sure it will support you in having more people lean in and move towards you, because they're going to feel like you're with them rather than speaking at them or just talking about yourself. Now, as teachers, as coaches, as mentors, as leaders, yes, sometimes we talk about our experience, as I've done here with you. We want to do it, though, for the teaching value, and then we want to relate it to whoever we are talking to. I'm hoping that you're seeing some value in my mashup of musings that I'm sharing with you today. Because in business, it's not just about what we do. It's also about how we be while we are doing it. And really the goal of this episode, as with all the episodes of our podcast and all the work that I bring forward to be of service to women in business, is that yes, I want you to be bringing your massive value. I want to support you in expanding the number of women and people that you serve. I also, though, want you to bliss in your business. And blissing in your business is about how we be, not just what we do. I'm hoping that you'll pick one of these musings that we've discussed, being more audience and client-centric, creating more community, and having more girlfriends that are like you on a mission, like-minded, like-hearted, that you'll put more attention on an attitude of uplift, that you'll embrace some of these things that we've discussed, and that you'll look at them not in terms of what do you want to do so much, although that is part of it, is we first get clarity on who we're being, and that informs and guides us to what we do. I invite you, though, to look at what have we discussed that will bring you more bliss in your business. I would love to hear from you, by the way. Send me a Facebook message. I check my own Facebook messages. Don't send me emails. I'm not an email fan. Too much email. And also, if you have not checked out our Expand Your Fempire app, guess what? The app is available wherever you get your apps, on your iPhone or Android device. And I've got a lifetime supply of more massive value for you. We talked earlier about making sure that you're not doing it all alone, that you're not being alone too much. I want to invite you to step into our community, to create your own community, to find a community where you feel uplifted and inspired, and you feel seen and heard, valued, welcomed, cared for, that you know that you matter. That's my criteria for any community that I'm going to be in. And I invite you to do the same. Because before we wrap up for today, I want to remind you that you do have massive value to bring, that there is a lifetime supply of people to serve. I invite you to be even more amazing by embracing what we've discussed today so that you can uplift more lives and, of course, bliss in your business. This is Caterina Rando, and I cannot wait, my friend, to be with you again on this podcast, to see your beautiful smile in a square on the screen, or maybe, if we're both lucky, someday, hopefully soon, live and in person.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Expand Your Fempire with Caterina Rando.